People are taking all their family photos on their iPhone these days, and I can't blame them. It's really convenient. You know, the last thing you want to do when you get home from a vacation is take all the pictures off your floppy disk, am I right? So today, I'm going to give you my general advice on how to take better pictures just with your iPhone. And this is all independent of which phone you have, old or new. This will help you get the most out of the camera you carry in your pocket. Number 1 is to simplify the shot just as much as you can. Try and get all the extraneous details out. This is of course easier if you have a Pro iPhone because you have the telephoto lens that helps you zoom in. So whenever I start to take a picture, I start with the telephoto lens, and if I'm too close, I back away a little bit from there. If you compare these two shots, you can see there's much less unnecessary detail in the background, and also that I gotta trim down on those weeds in the spring. Now, as I said, the optical zoom lens isn't available on the base model iPhones, so if you have an iPhone 13 mini or like an iPhone 14 Plus, you don't really have that option. You're gonna have to get a little more creative, but I have a few more sub-tips to help you out. If you're taking a picture of something sitting on a table, I try to frame it either so the table surface fills up the entire picture, or so that the table acts as a horizon line. If you're taking a group picture of somebody standing against a railing, I really recommend getting the railing out of the shot if you can, so that you have the most emphasis on the people and the landscape behind them. And this goes hand in hand with just paying more attention to the edge of the frame wherever you are. There's almost always an opportunity to move the camera a little bit this way or a little bit that way, just to get some unnecessary detail out of the shot. And finally, always try to avoid casting a shadow on what you're taking a picture of. That's a little more easier if it's permanently cloudy like it is in Ohio, but in the middle of a summer on a clear day, like a big shadow falling in the middle of the shot is kind of distracting. Number 2, use as much light as possible. Now, the reason that iPhone cameras aren't tiny little pinholes in the back is because the sensors get bigger basically every opportunity they have, and there are other features as well, like deep trench isolation, focus pixels, image stabilization, helps get that blur out of the shot if your phone needs to take a longer exposure. But you're always going to take a better picture if your phone doesn't need to use any trickery and you just have a well-lit room. Not all light is created equal. You generally want diffuse light spread out a big area, and in this example you can see the difference it makes. As I turn on all the lights in the room, and when I go back and compare the two shots, you can see it really gets a lot of clarity and loses all of that sort of dark muddiness in the before and after. Basically, with more light, your phone can focus faster and take a better shot. Number 3, learn the limits of your lenses. Your phone might have 2 or 3 lenses, but it's not always honest about which one it's using. There are really 2 main causes of this. The main 1x lens on your phone has by far the biggest sensor, so if your room is too dark, then it's not going to switch to the 2x lens. It also might do some trickery on you if you're too close to what you're trying to take a picture of. So each lens has its own limit as to how close it can focus. So here, where I'm really trying to get a close-up shot of all the dust and hair on my keyboard, I'm using the 2x lens, but when you actually look at the picture's metadata, you can see that it just used the main lens and it cropped it, which means that you only get a quarter of the resolution. For example, the main lens on your iPhone might not be able to focus any closer than 8 inches or so. Now when that happens, it's using the 0.5x lens and it's cropping it inwards. So with all that in mind, let me show you one picture that exemplifies all of these tips together. And there it is. This picture is taken with the 2x lens, which keeps the edge of the rug out of the shot. It was taken right next to a big frosted window, so you get that room-filling sort of diffused light with no real harsh shadows. And I was sitting about 2 feet away, which is plenty of distance for the telephoto lens to work with. It also follows a lot of the classical rules of composition here, so the focal point isn't in the dead center, but it's on the right third of the picture. The cat's posture, the lines on the rug, the shadows on the cat's face, all draw you right to that little tongue blip right there. I might not take a picture that good ever again. So those are my top 3 tips for getting the most out of your iPhone camera. You can find an article version of this in the video description, where I also go over some of my camera hardware accessories like additional snap-on lenses and videography tools that I have. I'm Griffin Jones with Cult of Mac.